Hello all, I hope you're keeping well. It's Steph here, and I'm here to do the Friday mindfulness session, and I thought that I would talk to you today about the 7 mindful attitudes, and this is something I've been looking at for some time actually, and it's something that John Kabat-Zinn, who you may or may not have heard of. Now he's the person who initially sort of brought about the mindfulness interest in mindfulness for working in healthcare and other situations in the 1970s, and he's written a book called Full Catastrophe Living, and it's a very good book to get a very a good insight into how mindfulness can be of benefit. Anyway, in his book he has come up with 7 mindful attitudes, and those attitudes are non-judging, acceptance, beginner's mind, trust, letting go, patience, and non-striving. And all these can be used in a daily mindfulness practice, and at any time in our day actually we can utilize these sort of attitudes that could just help us to let go and come to the moment, and as a prompt really to how to move into a mindful way of being. So I thought that what might be useful for people is if I touched on a mindful attitude each week. So as there's 7, over the next 7 weeks I'll be introducing each one, and today we're going to be focusing on non-judging. So with that in mind, I thought what I could do is just talk you through a little bit about it. I've been investigating it a bit today, and it seems to be, non-judging seems to be very, very connected to kindness. And I know that it's Mental Health Week, and certainly kindfulness was something that was a topic of Mental Health Week earlier on. I heard something on the radio about it. And it, in my mind, links very nicely to kindness. I think kindness can be quite a tricky one to work with, especially when we're trying to be kind to ourselves. And sometimes the first step with learning to perhaps accept yourself or be kind to yourself is to actually notice how we talk to ourselves and what goes on in the mind, what our mind is engaging with, and what sort of conversation is going on. There's nothing better than a bit of silence and attention to what's going on in our mind, like we do in mindfulness, to actually really notice what our thoughts are coming up with. And it often is judgment on ourselves, on others, on what's going on in our environment or something like that. So it can be a very interesting way of just noticing how we talk to ourselves inside. So working with thinking within this is fairly central. So that's why in the mindfulness practice we work with thinking specifically. It's a way of stepping out of sort of judging and blaming and goodness knows what, but also it's a way of noticing that too. So perhaps for this mindfulness practice we'll just focus on thinking and on judging, alongside coming to the present moment. So with that in mind, let's settle down to a practice. So finding a comfortable position, and this is a sitting practice, so if you can find a chair to sit on, or find some way where you can be a bit upright. I've been sitting in this chair for this session for a number of weeks and it's not really very comfortable. Let me see if I use the cushion. Is that any better? I don't know. Anyway, so let's start. There we are. Yes, that's better. So take some time to find out how you can be comfortable, because we're going to spend the next 5-10 minutes here, so you might want, so finding a comfortable position is quite important, and finding your posture is quite important. Finding a way of being upright which allows you to be present and attentive. So if you're sort of falling forward a bit, it's very easy to nod off, and drowsiness is a very common experience for many people when they start meditating, or even when they've been meditating for years. So coming to a upright posture, and then just feeling the alignment of your head and neck and in relation to your back and your sitting bones. So finding a way which feels aligned. And with your eyes, you can have them facing, sort of facing down is often quite helpful rather than straight ahead, but in whatever way feels comfortable. You can have your eyes open or closed, chin gently tucked in, and then coming to bringing your attention to this moment's experience of your body sitting here in the chair. Perhaps just noticing, gathering the attention of your mind. And it may be that it's been busy on other things this morning. So gathering your attention and just bringing it to this moment here, and with an intention of being as present as we are over the next few minutes. So, in the first instance, just perhaps connecting to your feet, connecting to the contact of the feet to the floor. Perhaps just feeling the sensations here. And it's maybe where we first notice judgments. I can't feel my feet, or I'm not sure what sensations I'm feeling. So as best you can, just seeing if it's possible to notice that and see whether it's possible to sense the sensations rather than thinking about what you should be experiencing in your feet. Is it possible to just be with those sensations in your feet? The feeling of perhaps contact to the floor, or the coolness of air against the skin of the feet, or tingling. Or if there is no sensations, you can't feel any sensations, then is it possible just to be with that experience? That's your experience. So be with it. Is it possible to be with it? So then moving up to your sitting bones against the seat of the chair, perhaps feeling the weight of your body bearing down on the chair. And then moving the height of you upwards, up through the uprightness of your torso, your spine, perhaps with a sense of uplift to your shoulders, And then down your arms, just so you're allowing yourself to connect to every part of your body. So to your arms, hands, fingers. Perhaps where your hands are in contact, just connecting there too. So connecting your body up. And then as we move up to the neck and the head, connecting to that part of the body, feeling the sensations in the neck, connecting to the actual experience of your neck, honouring what's there, whatever it is. Might even be slightly uncomfortable. Is it possible just to be with that? And moving to your head, face, and then to your whole body here. Connecting to your whole body sitting here. And then expanding your attention to take in your whole body sitting here whilst connecting to the breath. So as we move our awareness now to the sensations of breathing, to the experience, the direct experience of your breath. Feeling the coolness of the air on the in-breath and the warmth of the air in your nostrils on the out-breath. So as best as you can, allowing yourself to experience the breath. This breath, in this moment, the fullness of the in-breath and the fullness of the out-breath, however long, long breath being a long breath, short breath being a short breath. So just spending a few moments connecting to your breath, however you experience it in your body. And as you find that your mind has wandered, just noticing where your mind's been and gently, kindly coming back to the breath, this breath. And you may begin to notice that the mind has a tendency to be doing something. And often that's thinking. That's what minds do. And especially in meditation, when we're learning meditation, it can be very easy to get caught up in thinking and then give ourselves a hard time for it. Oh, I shouldn't be thinking. Oh, I've wandered into thinking. So what we are getting used to now is actually letting go of the judgment. And they may naturally come up when you find your mind's wandered and you think, oh no, I've been off for minutes and I've not been paying attention to the moment. So instead of giving yourself a hard time or saying I can't do this meditation or something, coming up with some judgment, which we usually do, seeing if it's possible just to notice that. Notice thinking. and then very gently coming back. This moment, back to this breath. And then as the mind wanders off, is it possible just to notice that? Notice the judging and the judging of the judging. Oh, my mind's wandered off. Oh, I shouldn't have let my mind wander off. Oh, all sorts of things you can come up with to give yourself a hard time. Just notice that. That's not a bad thing, because we're noticing the habit of our mind. So gently, with kindness to yourself, seeing if it's possible to do that, gradually, gently come back to this moment, to this breath. So now, as we bring this practice to a close, just perhaps opening your eyes if you have them closed, perhaps having a bit of a stretch. And perhaps just giving yourself an opportunity to just contemplate that practice. How was it for you today? And however it was, often we have this idea that, oh, that was a good meditation, or oh, that wasn't a very good meditation practice, or I got caught up in thoughts too much. And this is a sort of opportunity to perhaps notice how we are reacting in any particular way. So in relation to non-judging, I'm just referring to my notes here, it's good to notice actually what goes on in our minds, and when judgments are there, to notice them, to notice the judging of the judging, which I often find myself noticing, and it makes me smile, because I can actually now smile when I give myself a hard time, and I give myself a hard time for giving myself a hard time. So I sort of am able to be a little bit more light-hearted about it. It's also useful actually to perhaps label, it's useful to label it as thinking when you notice you've wandered into thinking. But it's also, I've always found it useful to notice the inner critic. Somebody describes it as the inner critic. Other people have talked about the narrator, the inner narrator, you know, just has something to say about absolutely everything that's going on, which I can also relate to. Or the journalist, the inner journalist. The one that sort of, you know, is sort of making sort of presumptions about everything that's happening, which again is me, you know, I mean, it's all of us, just human beings. But it's useful, it sort of takes the edge off of it. It lets us perhaps step back from what our inner narrative is, our inner story, just steps back from it and lets us see it for what it is. And that is also an opportunity when we can just let go, wave it goodbye, and come back to the present moment, to the breath, to the body, whatever you find helpful to come back to. Sort of about learning to be a bit impartial about our inner chattering mind, to witness it. Also to notice how the judging is either good or bad or neutral. So then that's something that often comes up. I mean, I used to notice when I was driving, I still, you know, not that I drive as much these days, but because of the lockdown, but often if I was in a hurry, how the driver behaved in front of me was either good or bad. And I would often be sitting there going, come on, you slow coach, or oh, you're a bit fast or a bit speedy. So noticing those moments, even you know, that's good, that's bad. So just noticing that sort of switch of oh, good, bad, and even noticing those things that you just dull out on can be useful. What else? Finally, and something we might talk a bit about another time is noticing that those repetitive thoughts that seem to come up time and time again, and they're the ones that we're not always aware of, but we often act on them. I'm just thinking, you know, for example, I'm not always a great cook, and I'm often burning things, which I did yesterday actually. So I will notice when I start thinking about cooking, oh, I can't cook. I've never been able to cook. Oh, I can't cook. So I've started on automatically, I've sort of started on a downer really. Oh, this, you know, I always do something wrong. That's what I say. Oh, I always put too much salt in, or something like that. So it's really useful to notice that habitual way of thinking about us, because it almost puts us in a way of being before we've given ourselves a chance. And that can be really, noticing those tendencies to give ourselves a hard time can be really helpful in then finding ways of stepping out of it and, you know, saying, no, I'm going to give this recipe a go and I'm going to give it my best shot, and, you know, see how it goes. So non-judging. What I will do is I'm going to write this up at some point and give it to someone to put it on the website so that you can access these 7 mindful attitudes. But for today, for looking at non-judging, that's what I've come up with, and I'm hoping you found that helpful. And we'll come on to another one of the attitudes next week. Okay. Well, wishing you all the best for your Friday and for the weekend, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, and all the best. Bye for now.